wherever you are. So a young man went to a monastery, took robes to become a monk. And in this monastery, they had a very peculiar kind of practice scheme, which involved doing very much the practice you've been doing here today, these days, of sitting meditation, walking meditation, sitting, walking, little caring for the temple jobs. And then every 5 years, you get a practice discussion meeting, but you only get to share 2 words. So this guy joins the monastery with great joy and enthusiasm and does his practice, the walking, the sitting, the yogi job. He comes for his first interview 5 years later, and he says, "Food bland." The master says, "Thank you. Please continue." So he continues again another 5 years, working diligently, cultivating his practice. 10-year mark comes around, comes for an interview. He says, "I'm bored." Master says, "Thank you. Please continue." So another round of 5 years. He comes for his interview. He says, "I quit." And the master says, "I'm not surprised. You've been complaining the whole time." So the suffering is not in the bland food. The suffering is in the complaining about the bland food. Suffering is not in the boredom. Boredom might be unpleasant sensation, but suffering comes when we wish it weren't so, we want it to go away, we have this stream of aversion towards the experience. So the Buddha proposed a particular practice, which is helpful in many ways, but especially helpful in lessening the stream of aversion, of ill will, anger, frustration, irritation. And that's the practice of cultivating metta. We've talked about metta a little bit. It's this attitude of friendliness, welcoming, benevolence, universal positive regard. Gets translated as loving kindness. That's not my favorite. It's a kind of like the purest form of love without complication, without attachment, a non-rejection of a complete non-rejection. And the method that the Buddha proposed for or taught for cultivating this, what eventually becomes a state of being and abiding. And we start by sort of touching into metta when it's present and helping it grow, or generating it through skillful thoughts and techniques, but ultimately becomes this kind of divine abiding, like a state that we can be in, where we are, our natural response is the response of kindness. And since compassion is rooted in kindness, the natural response to the suffering of our own suffering and the suffering of the world becomes this movement of kindness. So the method is in the chant. We've been chanting, "I will abide 1/4 with a heart imbued with metta." I will abide. That's that sense of dwelling or hanging out there. Eventually not something that you do, but kind of how you are. And the method here has a kind of maybe visualization or energetic quality to it. In many ways similar to the Qigong practice, the sense of the heart filling with metta, the way we fill the body with qi, and then the sense of it radiating outward in all directions. The style of the language is 1/4, likewise the second, the third, the fourth, but eventually you get all quarters, above and below, all around and everywhere. as to all, as to myself. So we include ourself in the circle of positive regard. This is sometimes challenging for those of us in the West. More so, I think, in the West. When I was younger, at least, and I would go to India, I found there was much less self-loathing in that culture. Although sadly, I think that has changed. But we include ourselves in the circle. We include eventually all beings in the circle. And I love this last line, abundant, exalted, immeasurable. So sometimes we get a sense that, there's like some to dole it out. Everybody's got a ration that they get, but this is like immeasurable and infinite, essentially. We have access to this infinite well of kindness that we can use to nourish and resource ourselves, and we can take it out in the world. And of course, if we all have this attitude of kindness in the world, our world would be profoundly different. There's the concept of war or conflict or these kinds of things don't even make sense when the heart is filled with metta. And it's also profoundly internally beneficial. The Buddha said that when one develops loving kindness in this way, no limitations remain, none persist. The sense that everything that is not metta limits us. It clouds our perception in a way that makes it difficult to see how things really are. It severs our connection with the bright, radiant heart that is open and non-rejecting. And it agitates the system in a way that makes it hard to be peaceful. So the Buddha's technique invokes a kind of like felt sense of an energetic, of this energy of metta. Going to do it as a visualization. Can imagine like a bright, beautiful light suffusing the heart, feeling the felt sense of that even, the warmth that arises when we feel caring and kind toward another person or other beings. And then about 1,000 years after the time of the Buddha, there's a seminal Buddhist text called the Visuddhimagga, offered additional support for this practice by imagining categories of beings to whom metta is being directed, and skillful thoughts, phrases that you can drop into the mind that evoke the sense of well-wishing. So we're going to do this practice together, and I'm going to sort of combine the two methods. The interesting thing is that when we incline the heart towards kindness, quite often what shows up is the opposite. That these orphans of the heart reveal themselves, the things that are standing in the way of metta begin to appear. So it's quite common to experience rage, irritation, frustration, sadness. And then we just bring our practice to that. Whatever's arising in the field, we see if we can meet that with that same attitude of metta that we're aspiring to cultivate. When we get to using the phrases, and I'll give you phrases if you don't have them, or many of you probably do, there can be sometimes a sense of, and we call it phone book metta. It's like you're just reading the phone book. It's very rote, very mechanical. Nothing's really like, it's not juicy in any way, and then that's fine. You can just be with the experience of phone book metta, and you can trust that just coming back to the phrases again and again, the same way we come back to the breath again and again, is cultivating mindfulness. So it's fruitful. And then the other thing that can happen is we experience some sense of the energy of metta, in which case we could savor that and um, savor it without clinging to it, but savoring it and sort of like inviting it to expand, giving it permission to be there and taking in the goodness of that feeling. It's really helpful in metta practice to be as comfortable as possible. It's hard to generate kindness when we're in pain or discomfort. So taking a moment to find a really good posture for yourself, and I'll even invite you, since it's the morning, at least here, to lie down if you think that would be supportive and you think you can stay awake. Maybe beginning by just placing the attention at the heart center of the body, in the middle of the chest. I find it quite helpful to place the hand here and feel the warmth of my hand as a gentle, soothing touch. And then connecting with the experience in the heart center of the body. How's the heart in this moment? Quite common on retreat, as we've seen, to be tender-hearted. And just meeting that tender heart with the attitude of kindness. Can be quite helpful to stimulate the energy of metta by bringing to mind a beloved being. The ancient language, they say benefactor, someone who is a teacher or has supported you, maybe a grandparent, and someone where the relationship is not at all complicated. My personal go-to is baby goats or a kitten or puppy. So bringing to mind the image of your beloved being and sensing into the heart. Often just that movement of mind can generate a little bit of happiness, a little bit of that sense of caring for that being and wanting them to be well. Connecting with the energy of the heart, the metta that is already in the heart, or the intention for metta to be in the heart. And maybe some sense of that pervading the entire heart, expanding to fill the entire front of the body. And then imagining as though your beloved being were seated in front of you, and the sense that this energy of metta, maybe a brilliant luminous light, is beaming outward toward your beloved being, suffusing them with this energy of metta. And then if it's supportive, you can add some phrases to the practice. Just dropping the phrase into the mind stream and then opening to receive the ripples May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be at ease. The dropping of the phrase is like the vitaka, the skillful thought, and then opening to receive how those words land in the heart. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. And may you be at ease. And you can even simplify the use of the phrases by just picking one. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be at ease. May you be at ease. And now imagining as you are radiating this beautiful energy of metta towards your beloved being, they are also radiating metta towards you. Be sensing in what it is to receive these well wishes. And then shifting the frame so as your beloved being remains in the field, beaming metta towards you, you're visualizing yourself, a sense of receiving the well wishes of your beloved being and generating your own internal well wishing. sometimes can be helpful to imagine a younger version of yourself. And then dropping in phrases for yourself. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be at ease. Sometimes when I'm speaking to the younger version of myself, I'll say, may you be happy. May you be safe. May you be at ease. And now imagining this bright, luminous, beautiful beam of metta energy emanating from the heart and radiating outward to the front, outward to the right, outward to the back, outward to the left, and upward and downward. And this beam of metta coming into contact with so many beings, each of them suffused with this energy and our care for them. And expanding this luminous ball of energy further and further. Can radiate far enough so that all of us are in this field wherever we are on the planet. This mutuality of metta, each of us giving metta to each other one on this retreat. And each of us receiving the energy of metta from everyone else on the retreat. May we be happy, safe, healthy, and at ease. Now that our beam covers essentially this entire planet, you can recognize the countless beings being suffused with this energy of metta, beings that live on the land, beings that live in the sky and the trees, the beings that live in the water, beings that live beneath the earth. Beings of all sizes, short, medium, small, visible, invisible. Those beings born and those beings to be born. All beings everywhere without exception. May we and all beings be happy. May we and all beings be safe. May we and all beings be healthy. May we and all beings be at ease. So if you haven't already, you can begin to incorporate the Mettā practice as we continue the retreat. One way I love to do this is with the walking. I will add phrases to my walking, so each step becomes happy, safe, healthy, at ease. I also like to acknowledge the other creatures or beings that I come in contact with. There's a squirrel, may you be well. There's a turkey, may you be at ease. The Buddha described 11 benefits for metta that I'm going to try to remember, and the team will help me out if I can't. You will fall asleep easily, wake up easily, have pleasant dreams. Humans will love you. Non-humans will love you. So animals and devas and other subtle beings. Your mind will concentrate easily. So metta is often used as a concentration practice, especially with the phrases very similar to the mantras we've proposed to help gather the mind. Fires, poisons, and weapons will not harm you. This one I don't suggest testing out. More of a metaphor, perhaps. Your face will be bright, your countenance serene. You will die unconfused, and you will not be born again into this world. Devas will protect you. You will not be born in an unhappy destination. Yeah, so you can take it in the sense of reincarnation and future birth, but you can also take it in the moment that we're born into a moment of anger. And with this practice, we're not born again into that moment of anger. Thank you for your practice.